I know what you think. Not another Blue Origin and Jeff Bezos bashing video, enough already. Yeah, I know, I would also like to stop, but Jeffrey Preston Bezos just doesn't stop taking more and more insane measures in the NASA Artemis human lander drama. So I also can't stop making videos about it, sorry. Jeff really did it. Blue Origin is actually suing NASA in form of a protest filed in the US Court of Federal Claims over NASA's decision to award only SpaceX as the prime contractor to build a human-rated moon lander for the Artemis program. And let's also take a look at Blue Origin's hilarious anti-Starship smearing campaign. This is quite some insane stuff, so stay tuned. In our last video, we already hinted at the possibility that Jeff might take NASA to court, but that it would happen so fast is really surprising. We are completely baffled by how aggressive Jeff Bezos has become. If he just would have been so aggressive before NASA made the decision back in April to award the human lander contract to SpaceX, you know, before. Anyway, so Blue Origin has officially sued NASA over the human lander decision in form of a protest filed in the US Court of Federal Claims. The website reads, "Another aspect of the court's jurisdiction involves government contracts. So a NASA contract, and NASA being a US government agency, therefore does fall within the jurisdiction of the Court of Federal Claims. Good to know." So after being rejected by NASA themselves, and after being rejected a second time by the Government Accountability Office, we talked about the history of the entire human lander drama, for example, in this video here, Bezos thinks that third time is the charm. The lawsuit itself remains under seal and NASA has until October 12th to file a response. NASA said in a statement that their officials are currently reviewing details of the case. Oh man, Blue Origin is really trying their very best to fall even lower on the sympathy level scale. And now even one of the leading engineers of Blue Origin's HLS program is leaving the company, and guess where he's going? Yep, to SpaceX. Ouch! That's a slap in the face for Team Blue. I think we don't have to comment, that alone speaks volumes. But Blue Origin went further. Protesting and suing alone is not enough. No. An additional smearing campaign against Starship would be nice, Jeff thought, and that's exactly what Blue Origin did. To show how wrong NASA's decision was to pick SpaceX for the HLS, Blue Origin put up an infographic on their website showing how dangerous and bad the SpaceX Starship and Super Heavy system are for landing humans on the moon. This is a new low even for Blue Origin. Like actually putting up an infographic to show how dangerous and bad the launch system of a competitor is. And it's also full of mistakes. Let's start with launch from a spaceport that does not exist. Like what the hell should that even mean? Okay, sure, Boca Chica has no formal FAA approval yet, but that is actually it. It is in the process of becoming a fully fledged spaceport that is pretty damn clear to everyone who is monitoring the progress at Boca Chica and what has been happening there over the past 3 years. So saying the spaceport doesn't exist is really a bit strange. But it gets even more bizarre and just plain wrong when Preston tries to show us how stupid the Starship Super Heavy system is to get people to the moon, because it supposedly requires 16 Super Heavy launches, and out of these 14 refuelings of the lunar Starship in orbit with a tanker Starship. 14, really, Jeffrey? 14? Okay, actually 15 if you take the additional propellant depot into account. So the total propellant mass which a Starship can hold is approximately 1200 metric tons. Let's be pessimistic and say the payload capability of Super Heavy to low Earth orbit is 100 metric tons. We don't have official numbers yet, but with 29 Raptor engines, we should be in the lower range ballpark of the 100 to 150 metric ton figure that has always been cited by SpaceX. So one tanker Starship can be fueled with 100 metric tons of Methalox propellant to low Earth orbit. Since the lunar Starship, as we said, can hold 1200 metric tons of propellant, in that weakest configuration we would only need 12 refuelings. Okay, 12 is less than 16, but still too much. However, with 33 Raptor engines, the figure is already more like 150 metric tons to low Earth orbit. So suddenly we would only need 8 tanker refuelings and thus only 8 super heavy launches instead of 15. Only about half of what Bezos wants to make us believe. Maybe Jeff should also start a YouTube channel where he bashes any technical innovation by Elon Musk's companies and quotes outdated, wrong or highly misleading data in good old idiot anti-Elon YouTuber fashion, you know? This practice has become quite a trend these days, so we wouldn't be surprised if Preston would join this illustrious club of angry psychos. And now Raptor 2 actually reached chamber pressures of 330 bar, which directly translates to increased thrust. So a payload capacity of even more than 150 metric tons is really on the table here. Thus possibly as little as 6 super heavy launches with tanker Starship to LEO for the lunar Starship to be fully fueled. So 7 launches in total if you take the lunar Starship launch into account. That is quite the difference to 16 as Blue Origin would want to make us believe. The infographic also writes, unprecedented cryogenic fuel storage and transfer that won't be demonstrated until at least 2023. Now this here is actually true. Orbital refueling with Starship has not been demonstrated yet, but the 2023 date is quite arbitrary. If SpaceX will manage to launch the Starship SN20 and Super Heavy Booster 4 later this year, it is quite probable that orbital refueling will already be tested by 2022. But okay, we all know delays happen in rocket development, so 2023 could be right. Funny though that Blue Origin leaves out the fact that their own rocket, the New Glenn, will also not be available before 2023 best case. Then another argument why Starship is supposedly so dangerous is that the distance from the hatch to the lunar surface is 126 feet or 38.4 meters. Okay, so that's why you have this crane here. Still better than the 10-meter tall ladder as would be employed with the lobby lander. Come on, a crane system is unsafe, but a 10-meter tall ladder which the astronauts have to climb up and down is super safe? Hypocrite. At least you got that part here right. Heavier than Saturn V, taller than Saturn V, 32 booster engines, well, it will probably end up being 33, and yes, has not yet flown to orbit, but this will change very soon, most likely in the coming months. And then the conclusion in big letters. NASA needs competition that isn't immensely complex and high risk. This is also the headline, by the way, just to underscore how immensely complex and high risk the Starship Super Heavy system supposedly is. Then Blue Origin contrasts the Starship Super Heavy system of SpaceX to their awesome National Team Lander. By contrast, the National Team Lander, what the heck, the Lobby Lander, okay? The Lobby Lander, according to Blue Origin, is super awesome and extremely safe. Look, it can use multiple well-tested rockets that we can see here. Oh wait, these are actually New Glenn and the SLS Block 1B configuration with exploration upper stage and the regular SLS Block 1. And you guessed it, yep. All these rockets are untested and have never been launched to orbit. This is so hilarious. So the same argument why SpaceX is bad, namely that they use a rocket that is untested and that has never flown to orbit, is presented here as a plus, as a pro argument. It's unbelievable. New Glenn, earliest in 2023, and this is best case. I mean, we wouldn't be surprised to see New Glenn fly even later, if Blue Origin doesn't get their act together and greatly enhance their processes and internal efficiency. And we don't even have to talk about SLS, right? I mean, the rocket that has been in development for 10 years and will have the maiden flight best case in November this year. And then look here how amazing the Lobby Lander is. Cargo missions can deliver more than 14 metric tons of payload to the lunar surface. Wow! 14 metric tons! Amazing! So how much can Starship land? 100 metric tons, 7 times more. See, Jeff, You also get 7 times more out of your lunar mission by launching Super Heavy 7 times. It is not wasted, because that directly translates to 7 times more payload to the lunar surface, and thus we can build giant moon bases a lot faster than with this puny little lobby lander. And look, another amazing plus for Blue Origin is that there are so many companies involved. This makes the system much better, because as we know, the more companies are involved in a project, the faster and more efficient the project becomes. In a faraway fantasy land, that is. In reality, of course, this always means more possibilities for errors and more potential for inefficiencies. Then let's read what's written at sustainability. Oxygen, hydrogen, propulsion and power makes our descent element compatible with extracting propellants from lunar material and providing power during the lunar nights of long-duration missions. Oh man, finally something that is at least partially true. I didn't think it possible anymore. Yes, that is indeed the advantage of liquid hydrogen and oxygen propellant for moon missions compared to liquid methane and oxygen. Hydrogen is much more abundant on the moon, and thus large quantities of hydrogen and oxygen can be extracted from the lunar regolith more easily than carbon, which is necessary in order to create methane. So indeed, finally, at least one advantage. Indeed, the Starship will need to have enough fuel left in the tanks in order to be able to lift off again from the lunar surface. And creating enough methane on the moon will indeed be a challenge. Not impossible, but more difficult than extracting hydrogen. Oxygen is not a problem, by the way. It's also highly abundant in regolith, and of course both hydrogen and oxygen are the constituents of water ice, which is very abundant at the lunar South Pole craters. But then of course Jeffrey has to mess it up again by writing this here in the last sentence. This efficiency is key to making missions routine and opening the path to Mars. No. Starship uses liquid methane and oxygen exactly for the reason that it's actually designed for Mars. And on Mars, you can create liquid methane really easily via the Sabatier process. Oxygen you can easily extract from CO2. So for Mars, liquid methane and oxygen propulsion is much more advantageous than liquid hydrogen and oxygen. So opening the path to Mars with liquid oxygen and hydrogen is plain wrong. If someone is opening the path to Mars, then SpaceX with a lunar Starship, because it will be the same system that will also land people on Mars. So if Super Heavy and Starship demonstrate successful manned moon landings and then show that a moon base can be built, then Mars is very much within reach, because it will employ the same technology. So actually the infographic delivers lots of arguments why the Starship and Super Heavy system is the right choice for returning humans to the moon, and is the right choice for humanity's future expansion to Mars. Okay, so this was another Blue Origin Jeff Bezos bashing video. I'm really sorry that lately the videos of that kind have taken overhand. I seriously would like to explore other topics as well, but every time I come online, new insane stuff is happening with this whole human lander drama. Let's hope that this farce will soon come to an end and that we can explore more interesting scientific topics again, like for example, the exact mission profile of the first Artemis missions with Starship and how the moon base will be built. Jishwen and me are, by the way, still happy and together, and she's fine and doing great, just to reply to all the comments asking about her. She's working on her own projects now, but of course she's still helping me with the videos in the background. So then, we thank you very much for watching our videos, we wish you a wonderful day, all the best, and on to the future!